So once the proxy is installed, it is configured, it is working properly, the next step is to install a machine or the Kubernetes manager. We are going to use Ubuntu server. Certain things we have to take care. Number one, during the installation, I have to configure my manager that it should use the proxy for the outside communication, because we are not going to have any direct internet connectivity to the Kubernetes manager. Not to the manager, to all the machines which are a part of the Kubernetes cluster. They are not directly allowed to access the internet as it is there in the real production world. So during installation, I have to remember certain things. Number one, the proxy need to be configured. It should have a single interface with the static IP address, and I have to configure the operating system also, that it should use the proxy for the outside communication, as well as my package manager. So this is what we will be doing. So the next thing is, let's start installing the Kubernetes manager. We also need to make sure that we give the proper gateway. Gateway in this case is going to be my proxy IP, which is 10.0.0.200, and DNS I can use any public DNS like 8888. So let's start with this. So this is what we are going to configure. So we already have a machine which is configured as the proxy. This is the machine which is configured as the proxy. It has got one interface which is in the NAT mode, and this is going to the internet. This is my proxy. This interface will be getting the IP from the DHCP. And it will have another interface which I'm going to use for the internal communication. So it will have one more interface which will be on the local network. This is my enterprise network, or I can say local network. Now this will have a static IP. In my case it is 10.0.0.200. that is the static IP. This is already configured, right? This is already done. Now what I have to do, I have to run a Kubernetes manager. I'm going to install one machine which is going to be acting as a Kubernetes manager. This is my Kubernetes manager. Now Kubernetes manager is going to have a static IP. In my case it is going to be 10.0.0.100. 100 is going to be the static IP, and this machine and other machines also, like I will be configuring a worker also, a couple of workers, say worker 1 and the worker 2. So this is worker 1, and we will have another machine here, worker 2. This one. So this worker 1 will have an IP of 10.0.0.1. it will be easy for me, and worker 2 will be 10.0.0.2. this is it. Now the cluster is this. My Kubernetes cluster is this. Only this part is the Kubernetes cluster. Proxy is on the network but not a part of the cluster. This is my Kubernetes cluster. So you can easily see here that every machine, and these machines don't have direct access to the internet. So all these machines, they should use the proxy as their gateway to go out. So I have to configure certain things. I have to take care of certain things while installing the operating system. Number one, on all the machines, this is my Kubernetes cluster. So on all the machines, I should have a gateway configured. Gateway in my case is going to be 10.0.0.200, right? And I will be using the DNS also. I can use the public DNS for all the machines, say 8.8.8.8, which is I'm going to use. Further, I have to use the proxy. Now, proxy need to be used for a lot of components. So I have to tell my components like, I should say, components like, let me change the color, some different color here, we choose this one, yeah. So my package manager, APT, my operating system, and I will be installing a container engine also here. Any container engine, we will be using CRYO container engine. These all components need to be configured to use proxy to go out. This is very, very important to understand. They need to be configured that you should use proxy to reach the internet, otherwise the cluster won't work. And they should not use the proxy for the local communication. That is again a thing that you have to remember, that do not use proxy for local communication, that when you are communicating with a 10 network. So next thing that we need to configure here or to tell is that use the proxy when going out, and do not use proxy. I should write here, do not use proxy for what? For local communication. When we are talking to the local, like cluster, means range of 10. For the range of 10, I need not to go to the proxy because it's a local communication. I also need to tell the Kubernetes cluster not to use the proxy for my pod network, whatever pod network I'm going to create, and not to use the proxy for the services IP. In Kubernetes, we will be creating certain services. So these things should not use proxy. See, it's very easy to understand. When 10.0.0.100 is talking to 10.0.0.1 or 10.0.0.2, they should not be going to the proxy, which makes sense. And if one container which is running here need to talk to the other container which is running here, so these container A and B need not to go to the proxy for the communication. So these things need to be configured. I hope this picture is clear, that what we intend to do. This is how the cluster looks like. And for every other communication, for going to get the packages, for OS updates, when the container engine is trying to download some images for the container, they should use the proxy, but not to use the proxy for whenever you are. A very simple thing is that do not use the proxy when the communication is within the red block, right? If it is within the red block, you should not be using the proxy. Very simple thing. If the communication intend to go to the outside the red box here, my cluster, then you should use the proxy. So this thing need to be configured. So let's first start with the installation of the operating system. I'm going to save this and minimize this. So this is the proxy. Proxy is already running with me. Perfect. I need to create one more machine. I click here. Next, you are aware of it. Linux. I call it K8S manager. K8S manager. Choose the location. 30 GB hard disk will be good enough. Finish it. Proxy is already running. It should be. Now change the things. Manager. The only thing that I need to change here is I need to change my interface to host only and attach the ISO. Attach your ISO here. Ubuntu 22.04 server, LTS, long-term support. That's it. This is what you have to do. Click OK here and start the machine. So let's install the operating system first. We have to take care while giving the IPs and the gateways. Enter, obviously. Need not to do anything here. So go through step by step. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of learning, which I can assure you. But just make sure that you finish your lab when you are going through one video. So take a pause, repeat those labs, replicate that lab, and then move to the next video. So this is coming up. It won't take much time, and where it is going to take the time, I'm going to pause the recording unnecessary. Will not be increasing the length of the video. So I'll do a pause there. It's coming up. We are installing the manager. Now during the installation also, I need to configure the proxy because the manager need to get the packages. So my proxy is 10.0.0.200 running on port number 3128, which we have seen in the previous video. If you can afford more resources to it, feel free to do it. So we're going to start with the setup very soon. Yeah, here now Cloud Init is going to be starting. That's it. Here we are. Waiting for it to start. We'll wait. Perfect. Here it is. So obviously English, the language, done. Ubuntu server, done. Now here, specify, go to edit, change to manual, and subnet is going to be 10.0.0.0/8. Address is 10.0.0.100. Gateway is the proxy 10.0.0.200, and the name server is 8.8.8.8. So guys, you all have to make sure that you have finished, you have done these things: subnet, address, gateway, and name servers. Save it. Let it apply the changes. Yeah, done. Proxy need to be set. So I write here http://10.0.0.200:3128. Now this setting is for the package manager, apt, your package manager. So finish it here. It will check. Let's wait. It should be able to reach the proxy and move ahead with the installation. It's trying to get the new installer. Perfect. Done. I'm not going into partitions, need not to create any partitions. Let it be the default partitions, what it is, giving me a review. Continue. Yeah, your name, Alok. Your server name, I call it manager. And username is Alok. I am supplying my password. Oh, password do not match. No problem. I'll do it again. Done. Need not to enable anything. Yeah, install OpenSSH. This is needed because we are going to SSH this machine from the proxy. No need to install any package here. Done. And wait for a couple of minutes. Within 5-6 minutes, depending upon your internet speed, this is going to finish soon. So I'm taking a pause here. As soon as it is finished, I'll start it again. Now as you can see, it is being finished. I can see the install complete. So I go to the reboot now. So the manager is successfully installed, the operating system, and the package manager is configured to use the proxy. So, next is we need to configure the operating system also to use the proxy. Press enter here. I'll just do a login and check the IP, check the gateway. These things we need to check. And if the package manager is using the proxy, which it is, I should be able to install some packages at least. So let's check it out. Perfect. So we do a login here. Username, password, supply your password. And here we are. Now we will see the IP, gateway, DNS. These are the things we need to see. So I'll check it out. Now here we are. So I can check the IP address show. I can move to the root. So give the command IP address show. I can clearly see the IP address of 10.0.0.100. So this is it. You can check it. 10.0.0.100 is the IP. I've got a single LAN card. Then I will also check the DNS, the gateway. Those things we will also check. If I check with my @cresolve.conf, and the entry actually goes in the using the resolve D service, so we will configure it. Let's check the route at least. So if I give the command route -n, I may need to install the package apt install net tools. That's not a problem. So we will configure the DNS when we will be installing the packages. So that is no worry here. So let's install the package and check the route. At least the gateway should be configured here. Perfect. So if I give the command route -n, yeah, see the default route is there, which we can see here. This one, the first one, this is the default route using my gateway. So make sure this is there. This is your default route, which will take me to the internet, take my machine to internet. Default route. If this is there, we are good to go. Now we have to repeat the same steps for the worker 1 and the worker 2. The only difference is that in case of the worker 1, the rest of the things will be same. The IP address is going to be 10.0.0.1 and the host name is going to be node 1. And in case of the worker 2, the IP is 10.0.0.2 and host name is node 2. So these are going to be the difference. The rest of the things will be same proxy, same gateway. So we need to finish these two machines also. So if you have done this, you can go and install these machines, and then we are good to move to the next topic.